Hey guys, Desolator Magic here, and are you excited about rotation and the release of Zendikar Rising finally after, everybody was talking about, I can't wait for rotation because Standard is so shit right now? Yay, hooray, I can't wait. No, what the hell is wrong with you? Seriously, do you actually think that? You should seek help from a mental health professional. You know how I know? Because I've just played several hundred games in the Standard 2021 queue, which is the I'm already rotated, but we're not including Zendikar Rising yet. And there's about 4 or 5 problem cards in Zendikar Rising, which is less than you would think, but they are disastrous. If you look at every single one that everybody on every website and every social media everywhere is currently scrutinizing and complaining about, and you ask yourself, is this card more detrimental to fun, fair gameplay and deck building than Smuggler's Copter? The answer is yes. If you think the answer isn't yes, then you probably haven't played the many tens of thousands of games that I have. Some people are extremely inexperienced, some are new to the game, some came from a game like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where win on turn 2 is perfectly normal, that's how you play the game. And giant impressive numbers are just their favorite thing in the world. They don't know what game balance is, they don't know what probabilities, they don't care. So just out of sheer ignorance, people have been saying, no, there's nothing wrong with these. Everything will be fine. And other people are saying, well, everything will be fine because I want it to be true. So it's going to be true because I want it to be true. And I'm so sick of that logical fallacy in everything in daily life and all of society. So anyway, I put together a little tiny short list of 46 cards, all of which are surviving rotation, and all of which would need to be banned immediately for there to be anything that resembles fun and fair gameplay. Because with any of them left in the game, it would single-handedly ruin deck building. Listen to me, okay? 46 cards unless I change my mind on some of them, and I don't think I will. If they were to ban 45 of these and leave one in the game, these are all powerful enough that they would still single-handedly ruin the game. So to get Standard down to an acceptable power level and not have just problem cards where you get to 8 mana and win, or you drop this in and your opponent has, half a turn, one phase, a quarter of a turn, even one full turn, and if they don't do something about it, they lose instantly with no recourse. Or a creature that you literally cannot get rid of within reason. It's basically the Scarab God all over again. You can't leave anything like that left in the game because everybody will play it. So unless Wizards bans these 46 cards, all 46 of them, Standard will be shit. And remember, it's actually 51 at least when you add the cards from Zendikar Rising that are complete and utter blatant mistakes like the Angel. So number 1, Dream Trawler. That's right, this survives rotation. Yay! Flying lifelink and you can't destroy it. They just toss a card, it's in a draw color, you can't get rid of this. It's a flying lifelinker and you can't get rid of it. They just swing away every turn with it brainlessly and they just win the game because you can't get rid of it. But Desi can force sacrifice it if it's the only thing in play. They don't counter your sacrifice ability. Shut the hell up. That'll never happen. Shut your stupid mouth. Next up, Shark Typhoon. But Desi, you can just counterspell this. Shut the hell up. You can counterspell everything on this list. You try running a deck that has a kill spell or a counterspell available at all times with enough mana. 100% of the time, enough to stop 100% of your opponent's spells. And also, somehow your counterspells can't be counterspelled by their counterspells. Yeah, good luck with that. So you drop this in, and the game's over. You're going to get unlimited sharks. The game's over. The end. Every counterspell, every control spell, every draw spell, everything that just fuels your deck to keep going, you get a free shark and you win, and they all fly. It's complete and utter bullshit. Whoever thought this was a good card must have thought, 6 is such a high number. No, it's not. Shut up. And this entire list, I didn't put shit like Cultivate on here. I probably should have. And if you played against one of the top decks in the format, which is black-green Force Fight Death Touch, which is a virtually unbeatable deck, you cannot beat it with creatures, period. Which, think about the next set, Zendikar Rising. The whole entire set can't beat that strategy. Sometimes you need creatures to win. In fact, commonly, you need creatures to win the game. So I didn't put Force Fight on here because it's more of a concept and it's more like a combination of cards. You can't really single one out. And I didn't put draw sources, but yeah, just the availability of I'm going to go get 2 extra lands. It would normally have taken me 6 card draws to get, 2 more lands, but I'm just going to do it with this spell. Oh, look, I'm at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. I just drop an Ugin and win. Haha, hooray for me. I'm such a talented player because I got to 7 mana. Wow. Which is why virtually every single ultimatum spell is on this list, but I don't want to spoil it too hard. Let's move on. Whirlwind of Thought. Every time you cast a non-creature spell, draw a card. Anything that says draw a card and there's no mana, no tapping, no limit, it's just unlimited free card draw for the rest of the game, that card. I don't care what the rest of the card says, automatically broken, period. I don't care how many colors this is. People play 5 color with no problem right now. I don't care what the rest of the deck is. You cannot give a non-creature spell heavy deck this much shit, okay? Card advantage plus control, just you win, period, the end, that's it. That's all there is to it, you win. There is no way to play around this other than counterspelling it and removing it, and if you remove it, the rest of the control spells are going to absolutely murder you. All you're doing is wasting one of your drastically, critically needed removal spells on this shit just to re-level the battlefield. Just to reset it to 0, and you're still going to lose. And it's 4 mana, that is disgusting. Next up, Teferi's Tutelage. Obviously, a draw-based mill. The more card advantage they get, the less likely you are to win. It's in a control color, and the whole time it's accelerated by you actively losing, by them doing what makes them actively win. This pile of garbage is impossible to play around unless you somehow recycle your library or something, your graveyard back in your library. That cannot be done within reason. If you try, they'll counterspell you. Because 1, they probably already milled the card. 2, they probably have a counterspell because 2B, they're outdrawing you 4-1. Next up, Eerie Ultimatum, because it's just get to 7 mana and win the game. I'll just free cast my whole graveyard after I self-milled it. I win. Look at all this bullshit that I would have had to pay 300 mana for. Well, here it all is. Next up, Genesis Ultimatum. Look at the top 5 cards and just put everything into play? Well, f*** you too. This is, once again, get to 7 mana, win the game. There is no playing past this if it resolves. Next up, Inspired Ultimatum. This is literally just get to 7 mana and win the game. I mean, a 10 life differential in a 20 life game, and then you draw 5 cards and it's in like hyper control colors that already have a draw engine because of the stupid Narset bitch and her stupid card. Yeah, this card. Next up, Ruinous Ultimatum. It's just get to 7 mana and win. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. Are you kidding me? This used to be a 9-cost spell in black. This is a definition of, oh look, I stalled so hard in 3 control colors, or really 3 removal colors, that I got to 7 and then I cast this and the game's over. Wow, what a fun, interesting, dynamic gameplay, and some fun, interesting, dynamic bullshit that led up to this spell. Oh, I cast this, they exile it. I cast this, they blow it up. Oh, I cast this, they make me sack it. Oh, I cast this? Just kidding, they made me discard it first. Yeah, that's all these 3 colors do. But this is the problem. This right here, pay 7, blow up everything you don't own and swing with everything else. F*** you, you win. And you know the dumbass at Wizard said, this will be a really fringe one. I mean, look at that. It's not even generic. You need exactly 2, 3, and 2 of the colors. Nobody will be able to pull this off consistently. And then everybody pulls it off consistently. Whatever counterbalance they thought this had for fairness went straight out the window. I have gotten hit with this so many f***ing games, I'm sick of it. Next up, Teferi, Master of Time. Not only can they just mill you out because now they're artificially drawing and you can't stop it, but as soon as you get a threat that'll hit him, he'll just phase it out. And eventually, if they negative 10 him, you just lose. So just another obnoxious control stall, horseshit, recurring unlimited removal Teferi. F*** this piece of garbage. Next up, Heliod. Everything in your deck has lifelink, everything gets the counter. You can't have one effect and then a trigger and have them both feed into each other for 3 as an indestructible 5/5. That is batshit fucking crazy. I have won so many games just because I have him out and literally anything. I have had him win a game single-handedly because I have a 1/1 Death Touch Rat out and I just kept giving it lifelink and it got 1 bigger every turn. This is such an overpowered piece of shit for 3. I think it might even be appropriate if it costs like 5 or 6, but it's just too fucking easy to get out. Next up, Shadow Spear. Oh boy, a 1-drop with Equip 2, where if you pay 1, you wipe out Hexproof and Indestructible, so there goes anything that was protected from removal, now it's gone, so they can blow that shit up too. And then also, every single color has Trample and every single color is lifelink. Well, the color pie then, I guess. I guess the color pie doesn't mean shit anymore because every color gets access to this. Mono green now has, well, they would have had trample anyway, but lifelink, which they really shouldn't have because they're giant and have trample. Oh, now your white already life gain deck that triggers off the life gain effect, now they get trample. Yeah, white with trample, that's great. First strike trample, black gets death touch trample. You know how that one works? You deal 1 and do the rest pass no matter what its toughness is. You can't just give every color access to that. That's bullshit. Next up, Auspicious Starix, the worst mutate creature ever made. Every time you mutate with it, you just basically free cast your whole f***ing library. And in virtually every game, they strap this to something that has natural hexproof, so you're just not getting rid of this. There is literally nothing you can do other than watch them cast more and more shit for free. Totally and completely, utterly broken. When will these morons realize that you can't allow free casting in the game? Period. Everything. Every single spell, every single creature, every single ability needs to be paid for. The mana system is a fundamental fabric of the game. When you violate it, you get shit like this that everybody hates. Then there's Dirgebat. Oh boy, you don't get to have creatures anymore because they decided to play Mutate and splash black. That is how I would describe this overpowered piece of shit. Oh, but it's really hard to get to 6. No, it's not. Nope, it's not. It's really not. It's not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. It is incredibly easy to get to 6. Next up, Terror of the Peaks. Once again, you get no more creatures. Every time literally anything comes into play, you get unlimited free damage triggers that don't cost you any mana or anything. It's basically free casting removal. This is impossible to play around, and it's usually in a giant creatures deck, so even if you do destroy him, now you have to destroy every single other giant creature because you can't deal with those either. Next up, Peer into the Abyss, because it's just used to win the game instantly with stupid draw trigger. Then you got the graveyard trigger, then you got the steal stuff on your graveyard trigger, then they've got the draw trigger if they target themselves. It's bullshit. This card never should have been printed. Oh, but 7 with triple black is really hard to get to. They get there. They do get there. They get to 7. I don't know if you've seen the games. It's really easy to get to 7 actually, it turns out. Oops. Too much ramp, too much land fetch, and too much control stall removal bullshit to buy yourself time. Next up, Vino, Thorn of the Duskgrows. This really just needs to be banned from Historic, but I threw it in too because it's weaponized life game directly for 3. You can't play around this. And then the Masked Lifelink, this is basically just Heliod Jr. While they're avoiding losing, they're actively killing you. That is too good for, the fact that they're in the game right now, what is there, 100 different life gain sources at least? It's too good, and you can't stop it. You can't do anything about this trigger. Nothing in the game reasonably stops this. But he dies to removal. Shut your mouth. You clearly do not understand how magic works. You cannot remove every single problematic permanent that comes out from your opponent's deck every single time. You can't counterspell every single spell. You can't remove every single creature. You can't exile every single enchantment, okay? You can't do that. If you try, your deck will not function. Next up, Zenith Flare, the most non-interactive Mark Rosa or Pila shit I've seen since I started the game. If you do not clear their graveyard, you lose. You have to play a graveyard clearing effect or you lose to this card. It is that fucking simple. You either counterspell this, and then you just know there's another one coming because, what do they do to feed this? Oh, that's right. They cycle, which means they get to look at a card. Oh, they end up with Zenith Flare more often than they naturally would? Does it have something to do with the fact that they're looking at 7 or 8 or 9 cards per turn out of a 60-card deck? Do you think that has something to do with it, maybe? The way your opponent goes to get this card is exactly how this card kills you. Do you see the logical fallacy here where you can't do that? This card is you have until the stack resolves to not lose the game. And your only options are counterspell it or clear the graveyard. That's it. I don't know why the f nobody plays this deck anymore. I really honestly don't, or maybe they all leveled out of my league or something, but the cycling deck is just purely unbeatable. You could run a 100% creature removal deck and remove every single creature they bring in real time and lose because of it, and then if you leave them in play, you lose because they're in play. Because every time they cycle a card, they either create a 1/1, put a counter on themselves, or gain life, and so you lose. If you remove them, aka send them to the graveyard, cool, Zenith Flare is bigger and you lose. It is non-interactive trash, and it has no place whatsoever in the game. Next up, Embercleave. You can drop it in for 2 mana, and you instantly win, because it has double strike and trample and +1/+1. They either remove the only creature that was big enough to block, or they just outright kill you with the overflow damage. There is no excuse for something this f***ing overpowered to drop in for 2. Whoever designed this should be fired. Next up, Fiery Emancipation. Everything deals triple, not just red damage, everything. Everything in your opponent's deck, not even both of you, not both players. They've done that before, where every source from every player does double. No, this is just you, and it's triple, not double. Do you see why that might be a problem? So you get this carefully leveled out, standard meta. You've got like this beats this and this might be this. And these are a couple decks that we kind of had in mind. You could play one of these. And by the way, if one of them comes up with 6 mana, now it does triple. Just triple it. Triple the damage output. You can't just take like a rock, paper, scissors, this beats that, everything's kind of at the same level and just say, well, but this one though, triple. The second the centers play, you lose. The next thing they hit you with, creature, spell, literally anything, planeswalker ability, anything, you lose. So you either counterspell this or you lose. Embercleave, you either counterspell it or you lose. All of the ultimatums, you either counterspell them or you lose. And did you notice that nobody plays counterspells because they're too slow? You'll eventually just run out of cards. And there's other non-control colors that have non-stop card advantage. So you are going to run out of counterspells at a certain point because they're just simply outdrawing you in every color while they also outramp you. While they also bring out unstoppable effects and unstoppable creatures. Standard is fundamentally broken and every single thing on this list needs to be banned. Next up, Torbrand. I'm not even going to explain it. It's Torbrand. If you don't know why this is a problem, you're a fucking idiot. Next up, Steel Overseer. But Des, nobody plays this. Well, I've played against it about 5 times out of the last 1,000 games, and that's too many. There's plenty of untap effects. We're about to see tons and tons and tons of artifact tokens. Forget it. Everything's 1/1 bigger forever. So it's not just the Lord card. It's not just a booster. It's not all elves get +1/+1. It's not that other white, 3-cost enchantment that says all creatures get +1/+1. This is every time I can tap this, and regardless of if you remove this later, every single piece of shit in play gets a +1/+1 because obviously they're playing all artifacts. Then untap it, then retap it, then untap it, then retap it, then untap it, then retap it. Before this was reprinted, this was like a $50 card. And that's for a damn good reason. This card should have been banned out of Modern. Yeah, almost nobody plays it. I don't give a shit. That's because one little removal spell to this thing and their deck falls apart. So what? Doesn't matter. This is still mathematically too powerful. It's too much damage output and too easy to bring out. Also, not legendary. Also, clonable. Also, cost 2. Too fast, too efficient, too early, too good. All they have to do is protect it. And they can pick any color because it's color. So does there. Blue counter spells. There you go. Done. Turn aside. Done. Negate. Done. Or just resurrect it. Because that's trivially easy to do in today's meta. Next up, we got Kiora Best the Sea God, as I like to call it. Get to 7 mana and win the fucking game. There is no way to play around this. You can immediately remove this stupid saga piece of shit. They still have an 8/8 hexproof Kraken that is going to kill you. You are f***ed. If you don't, every single non-land permanent you control taps, so you are defenseless, and then in addition, the next upkeep while you're defenseless, they're going to steal one of your things and untap it. They play this, you lose. It's get to 7 and lose. It's just another fucking eerie ultimatum, but monocolored. This needs to be banned immediately. Next up, Nyx Bloom Ancient. Whenever you tap for mana, it does triple. Fun fact about this card, that's too fucking much mana. So in other words, in a ramp color that's already mana oriented with alternate sources to generate mana, you get to 7 and win. You just drop this in and win the game. The next thing you do that involves spending mana, you win the game with it. You cast your whole hand, your whole deck, you go nuts with triggers, you just, anything. Counter spells, endless counter spells that feed themselves, draw 30 cards, whatever the hell you want to do with that mana, you do it and you just win. Absolute trash. Oh, and by the way, not legendary for some reason. Somebody just about crashed MTGO the other day from what I heard because they brought out 191 of these. They cloned it or something. Yeah, the number of mana in their pool had to be represented with an exponent and yeah. Next up, Garuk Cursed Huntsman. So he brings out 2 wolves for free, and then you somehow have to get rid of 5 loyalty without killing those wolves. Because if you kill any of those wolves, you lose. Because he will the next turn ultimate you, and its creatures have +3/+3 and have trample whether you kill Garuk later or not. And then just in case you get a slight edge or you get something set up, -3, destroy target creature, draw a card. Card advantage, which is more removal, because he's part black. I mean, so black is the removal color. But yeah, anything happens to those wolves, you're screwed. This is the most over-bodyguarded piece of shit I've seen since Elspeth. I'm surprised the wolves don't have reach, to be perfectly honest. There's nothing you can do other than instantly take them out with a spell. Even if you do, I mean, they have 2/2/2s in play. And you have 1 turn to do it, otherwise it becomes 8 power and damage to your life total worth of wolves that you can't block or kill, otherwise he'll ult you. And there's no penalty for creating the wolves. This was probably a worse card than Oko, but because you cost 6, you don't see him as much. But this is one of the worst Planeswalkers, most overpowered things ever printed in the game's history. Next up, Winota, because she free casts your whole fucking deck. If you don't know that by now, you're a moron. Next up, Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger. I actually want to play the cards in my hand, thanks. You. Not to mention, it's a 6/6 for 2 that's really a 6/6 for 4, but in either case, that's bullshit. Oh, direct unstoppable damage to my life total, and I get to deal with this horse shit, and it re-triggers every time he swings, and it's a 6/6 for 4? Well, thanks! And before you actually brought him out for real, you got rid of every card in my hand so I have no way of dealing with him? Well, f*** you too, asshole! And Uro. Duh! Free lands and free life and it's a 6/6 for 4? F*** you! Next up, Outlaw's Merriment. So you spend 4 mana and you just win the game because you get unlimited free creatures for doing nothing. You could literally just say, you know what? I choose to stop drawing cards. I don't actually need cards or mana. I don't even need to participate in the game in any way. I'm just going to sit there and get free shit and win with it because I'll just flood you. Oh, you want to board wipe them? Too bad, it's basically Field of the Dead. I get a free fucking creature every single time I fucking blink. Oh, how do you stop this? Enchantment removal. You know, that thing that nobody has ever. Next up, Fiend Artisan. Forget having to draw the card you need, just go get it from your library. It's kind of like cheating. It's kind of like taking the card you need and taking it out of your library and putting it in your pocket, but a little bit easier. It's a free tutor card, which I consider a fetch card because tutor is any card. This is a creature specifically, just like fetch land specifically, go get a land, but that's a different discussion. And then it just drops into play because f*** you. One of the fundamental features of the game is that you need to actually draw the card in order to use it. If we remove that factor, this will just go get the most hyper-consistent, overpowered bomb out of your library and just screw shuffling and card draw. It no longer matters. Oh, and also this thing is absolutely gigantic because it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. And it's not legendary. So on the average deck on the average turn, this is probably like an 8/8 for 2, which is already a problem. It's any color you really want with that hybrid bullshit, so that's great. Thanks for that. Non-legendary, so you can just use it to go fetch another copy of itself. That's always fun. This is the definition of broken. Everything about it is broken. Every word on here is broken. Next up, Ugin, the most hated card from the set it was in a couple years ago. So they brought it back. Now it's the most hated card in Standard right now. How did that happen? How the f*** did that happen, Wizards? I'm shocked. I can't imagine that that would have happened. It's almost like people had a reason to hate it the first time because it was in a 100% draw ramp control deck. It was just Esper horse shit where they would sit there and wipe the board, blow everything up and counterspell everything, bring out Ugin and then win the game single-handedly with him. Just one card. You just bring him out, win the game. Anything that could deal with them, -6 it. Everything else, blast it for 3. Oh, so they bring him out, -X him, basically asymmetric board wipe-ish, and then you exile him immediately on your turn. Well, you still lost because you lost literally every single thing you had in play. So you still lost because they're still at 8 mana. So this is the definition of get to 8 mana and win the game, which is annoying as f***. Next up, Dreamtail Heron. Oh great, the last thing we need in a mutate deck is the ability for you to draw a card every time you mutate so you can stack shit up even higher, free cast more shit, kill more stuff, more sack effects. This is the problem with mutate right here, is card advantage. Speaking of that, Chittering Harvester. Whenever this creature mutates, each opponent sacks a creature. So every time their creature gets bigger, you lose a creature. So basically you can't win the game with creatures. And then if you do manage to blow this up after, 1 or 2 turns of them just stacking mutate over and over and over, and you lost your entire army, well, you can't win the game now because you lost your entire army. Next up, Pack Leader. Other dogs get +1/+1, and every time they swing, they cannot be damaged. So in other words, you lose. Oh, but the counterbalance is they can only run dogs. It doesn't matter. They could be running literally anything. If you can swing away in a life gain color and a ambush boost color and have no negative consequences because you literally cannot be defeated in combat and you're single-handedly preventing your opponent's lifelink at the same time, and for some fucking reason this card isn't legendary, that deck can't lose. It just simply cannot lose. The funny thing is, some of these things you might be saying, yeah, but nobody plays this anymore. That's because of Mutate, Chittering, Dirgebat. Because you can't win with creatures against at least 3 of these other decks, maybe 4 that I just mentioned. Because they're going to wipe away all your creatures while getting card advantage, while getting rewarded for killing your creatures. It's too much consistency, too many triggers, and too much power. And like I said, they could ban 45 of the cards and leave this one card, and everybody with their brain still in their head would play Dog Tribal because it can't take damage. They just swing away, live on the lifelink, and don't give a shit what you do. It's that overpowered. This card cannot be beaten except by something even more degenerate and obnoxious. So Wizard sees it and they say, oh, well, everything's fine because there's a slight answer, and they're look at the meta diversity. There's 7 different broken decks that people run. No, that's not how it works. No, you don't make something horribly broken, oppressive, and where you have no way of dealing with it, no way of playing around it, no way of reasonably removing it, nothing. You are so pigeonholed into some bullshit little side emergency strategy just to reverse what they did with one card, just this one card. You immediately need to remove this or you lose. Just like Fire Emancipation, just like Embercleave, just like Ugin, just like the ultimatums, and even then it's too late, even if you do get rid of them immediately. Once the damage is done, you are not coming back. So that means you have to build exactly just tiptoeing through the minefield of all this broken shit that you just, it's impossible to play around just to build a functioning deck. Remember how things were like 6 years ago where you could build whatever the you wanted, and if it was somewhat reasonable, you could go to FNM and win with it? Yeah, we need to get back to that. This is a deck building game, not a fucking net decking copying game. This isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's like, what wins on turn 1? Okay, cool, I'll copy that from the internet and buy it for $1,000. Wow, what a fun game. Wow, whoever goes first wins and it's nothing but mirror matches. Well, this is a riot. Why the am I still playing this game? I feel like, Dex, you're overreacting, and none of that you said, it's all doom and gloom, it's not real. Arena has lost over 50% of their players, which is over 1 million people. Over 1 million people have quit the game. 1 million, okay? It's actually 1.5 million. Their income is down the toilet. The number of bans has gone up by almost double every single year if you add all the formats up. In Mark Rosewater's own survey of nothing but his own fans, it was about 74% of people said Standard is too powerful. Even the moderators on the Magic subreddit have turned on Wizards and will let people say just about whatever they want about Wizards. And their idiot staff members, Mark Rosewater did a total third-party interview for some random place, and it got so toxic with the rating bombings and the comments because people are so fed up with him breaking the game that they had to turn comments off and turn likes and dislikes to hidden. That's where we're at. That's the level of damage from the game right now. They've driven off more than half the players. Everybody's pissed, and they will take any swing they can see at the staff and their stupid, clueless, arrogant, just out-of-touch bullshit. It's like they're being stalked and hunted around the internet because people are so absolutely livid that the game they've been playing for decades has been ruined to this extent, and I am right there with them. I am just as pissed off, if not more. You should be too if you have any concept of fair gameplay, math, probability, balance, anything. If you can't see at this point how shit the game is right now, you are beyond all help. So if you're going to sit there and tell me in the comment section that I'm wrong and that I'm exaggerating and that things aren't this bad, you are factually, provably, with cited sources, incorrect. You are so stupid that you don't know how stupid you are, and you're so wrong you don't know how wrong you are. Because you are so far in the minority of the community saying things are just fine that the other 3/4 of us or more are laughing at you. Everybody comes to my channel, which currently has over 50,000 fucking subscribers, to hear the truth, to hear what we need to do to tell the staff our problems and what we don't like about the game and get results, and I have gotten results. So if you think none of this is constructive, your whole channel is just whining and complaining, you just don't get it. You do not understand the point of any of this. You don't understand how shit things have gotten. You live in a bubble. That's why, because you are so toxic, detrimental, and clueless and uninformed, anybody disagreeing with me in the comment section on this video will be banned for life from my channel. Immediately, permanently muted, because you aren't allowed to speak. You are too stupid. You are part of the problem, and you are doing nothing to fix this. And I'm sick of it. So let's just burn through the rest of this shit. This is getting me way too pissed off. Teferi's Ageless Insight. You get to draw double what you would normally and then just mill them out twice as fast. I wonder why that might be a problem. Infinite card advantage as an enchantment. I'm shocked they made it legendary. Fervent Champion, 2 first strike for 1 on turn 1 on your turn 0. What's wrong with that? It literally can't be defeated in combat within the first couple of turns. Great. A 1/1 Death Toucher, which is literally the cure to a Red Rush deck? Nope, irrelevant. Next up, Iron Crag Pyromancer. So just run blue and win the game because you get unlimited little pings for 3 every time you do anything. While getting card advantage, you get free removal. Does that register with anybody why that might be a little f***ed up? Brash Taunter. It's literally Stuffy Doll. Short of exiling this, there's nothing you can do. You just let him run rampant, all the equipment boost he wants, and anything that targets a creature now targets your life total because they'll just target him. Completely and utter game warping, broken trash. All that glitters. That's what I want. A 15-15 on turn 4 because it is dumped in a bunch of 1-cost shit. Gigantosaurus, a 10-10 for 5 because you. Iron Scale Hydra, it cannot be defeated in combat, can't be killed by Death Touch, you have to exile it or you lose. Every time you chump block it, it becomes more of a problem, and that's if they didn't give it Death Trample in the first place. Dance of the Manse, basically just pay 7 or less mana and just win the game instantly with an army of unstoppable 4/4s that all have ETB effects and all have active, upkeep effects. Speaking of that, Doom Foretold. You just get to sit there and run out of permanents until you have nothing left in play while your opponent builds a giant army. Then you get to discard a card on top of it. Then you can resume playing the game maybe 4 or 5 turns later. And at that point, you can't stop whatever the hell they were doing. And also, they get a free night out of it. That's too many things, and all the things are bullshit. Haktos, a 6/1 that can't be killed. What's wrong with that, I wonder? Song of Creation. Double landfall triggers. Whenever you cast a spell, draw 2 cards, which is a little bit more toxic than, what's her fate? Narset's stupid horseshit enchantment. Oh, but you have to discard your hand at the end. Who gives a shit? You don't have a hand. Who cares? The Ozolith. Oh, I have no problem playing against the Ozolith in a counter drop deck as long as I never let them have a creature for more than 1 turn ever. I have to destroy. If they bring out 12 creatures and I destroy 11 of them, the 12th one is going to kill me because it's a 30/30 with lifelink and trample and death touch. So all you have to do to play around the Ozolith is either directly blow it up, which wastes a removal spell, probably an exile spell in reality if you look at what people are actually playing, on a 1-cost permanent. That's right, once again, you're losing the game to a 1-drop permanent, so you have to use like a 4-mana removal to remove a 1-mana card. And your other options are remove every single creature they bring out for the entire game and don't get hit once or you lose. You get hit one time and you lose. Basically, every creature in their entire deck now has, not only about 3 or 4 different evergreen abilities, but also it has like Ultra Mega Supreme Death Touch because 1 touch to your life total and you're dead. You're dead instantly. Stone Cold Serpent, because every single color should have access to a giant creature with reach, trample, and protection. And that's it, although by that's it, I mean there's probably 5 more that I forgot. Feel free to leave your additions down below. I know for a fact the Innkeeper and the Lucky Clover should be on this list, but I forgot them, because that's just disgusting. A 1-drop and you get unlimited card draw out of it for the rest of the game. Great. Thanks. And don't make them legendary or anything. I mean, let's not get crazy with it. I mean, they need to draw 4 cards every time they blink at me. So yeah, it's closer to 48. Honestly, it's probably closer to 60. There's a lot of things I forgot that are all surviving rotation. Brazen Borrower almost made the list, but it's not single-handedly broken. It's the deck it's in that's the problem. So yeah, every single one of these plus about 5 or 10 cards from the new set would have to be banned for standard to be not shit. So I'm looking forward to the rotation in, what even is it, 2022? Then we'll still have the broken shit from Zendikar Rising then, won't we? Yeah, that's the first one to survive the next one. The 4 that are out right now are rotating at the end of 2021 going into 2022, but we're still going to have Zendikar Rising then. So 2023 or late 2022 is the first opportunity for standard to be playable. So the game that you used to like to play that is completely ruined and over half of the community is abandoned, it will be in an unplayable state because of Wizards' greed until 2022. Fantastic. Can you see why I'm a little pissed off in some of my videos? Does it all make sense now? Is it all coming together for you? They've ruined the game. They forced me to make and concentrate on 2 other YouTube channels just to jump ship from this shit because I know within 2 years there's not going to be enough players left in the game to support myself. I'm probably going to have to go back to working a different job and just give up on YouTube. Which, oh no, boo-hoo me, great. Honestly, I think I can make my other 2 channels work before then. But this is just sad. It affects me personally. It affects a hobby that I've had for almost 8 years now, and they ruined it. It was the best card game in the world, and now it is among the absolute worst managed, worst state, worst piles of shit and disgrace to mankind that I have ever seen. All because they said, we made a conscious effort to try to sell standard cards at a higher power level to people who play other formats because we're greedy assholes and we want more money. And we know that if modern players and standard players both want the same card, it quadruples in price. And then we can sell you more packs. And then 4 years later, they don't have a game left. Oops. So yeah, that is how shit things are. That is the shape of things. This is an itemized list. 48 different reasons that the game is still going to be shit after the rotation. So congratulations. Wish I had better news, but I don't. This year and 2021 apparently. I'll see you guys next video. Don't forget to sub to my other 2 channels, Desolator Gaming and Emergency Survival Tips. Because this channel sure as shit isn't going to be around much longer.